crashes, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis, Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts with host David Lamb and the attorneys of Hollis, Wright.
Good evening and welcome into the attorneys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Got a really interesting topic of conversation and a fascinating guest as well. But before we get into the introductions there, a couple of reminders. Would love to have you join our conversation at the bottom of the screen all throughout the show tonight. Ways you can get in touch with us. But just as a reminder, the number to text 205-670-1949 or toll free. You can call us at 844-529-8255. That's 844 Law Talk is the easy way to remember that. And attorneys from Hollis, Wright are actually standing by live. They make it available each and every Sunday night during the attorneys, so you can get in touch with an attorney. That is a free, confidential, and off-air conversation that is yours for the taking. Leading tonight's conversation is the managing partner of Hollis, Wright, Josh Wright. Good to see you, sir.
Great to see you too. Hope you had a great week.
I did. Thank you.
You know, we're just kind of enjoying the fall and moving forward into schools back in full swing, and everything's good.
Yeah, the busy life is back upon us.
There's no question. All right, so tonight we have a show. We're going to talk about things like wills and estates and pro-amies and what the probate court does for us that benefits us. We are very lucky. Jameria Moore, who has been on our show, she's with a firm here in town, Sperling & Moore, and she's been on our show multiple times and does a great job. And one of her new hats that she wears now is as a municipal judge. So I can call you the Honorable Jameria Moore. Welcome. Glad to have you back on. I've watched your practice for years, and it just continues to flourish, and you're doing outstanding. So congratulations with the municipal new gig that you got. Tell me a little bit about that. What kind of cases are you going to be handling as a municipal judge, and how did all that happen?
Well, I was appointed by the Birmingham City Council and the mayor's office as a municipal judge for the city of Birmingham. And in that particular court, you know, it's traffic tickets, DUIs. We have a mental health court. We have Project Renew, which helps people to get their driver's license if there are some issues that they don't know about. There's just so many different aspects of the municipal court. Also, they have domestic violence court. So it's the misdemeanor criminal court for the city. So that's what I'll be doing. So I'm excited.
Well, I don't even want to know how big your docket's going to be because I know it's going to be significant. But congratulations. That's a really neat honor. It's not something every lawyer gets to do. You and I had talked offline. One of the things that I still relish in my practice is when I started as a lawyer, I was a municipal prosecutor with a defense firm that I worked for about 18 months. And I really remember being recharged about the law as I was starting my practice. But just kind of it recharges me on the fact that those courts are super important courts that help citizens on a daily basis.
Yes, exactly. Just so many opportunities to try to get the citizens re-engaged. I mean, down to trying to help citizens to get jobs. I mean, the opportunities are endless if they just take advantage of those opportunities.
All right, so today, switching topics here, we're talking about the probate courts and some of the things probate courts do. I don't think people generally understand how significant the probate courts are and how the individual citizen is generally using a probate court for a lot of the things that they have in their life.
Yes, I know. Probate court is a very, very important court, statutorily created by, out in Alabama to deal with issues such as wills, estates, conservatorships, guardianships. I mean, you deal with adoptions in that court. A lot of people get an opportunity to come to probate court or know what probate court is for a marriage license, something like a name change, recording your mortgage. It is such a large court. I mean, mental health court. You get commitments there. And a lot of people, they are just not familiar with probate court. So I really try to get out in the city and talk to various go to the churches, go to the various community activities and tell people about what can happen and what they need to know about probate court.
It's interesting. I look at all courts are different, but I kind of look at probate court as the welcoming court. That they're trying to assist us on a daily basis, do the things we need to. Like, for example, one of your specialties is dealing in probate court with things like wills. And how did you get into that type of practice?
Well, it hit my family, and it hits everybody's family. So what happened, my grandmother was diagnosed with dementia. My father, and I was just graduating from law school, and my father had to get a conservatorship. And I said, well, let me figure out what to do at that point. And that's how I got involved in probate. I saw how important it was for him, and he was so detail oriented. And that's one of the really important things about being a conservator, is being detail oriented. Yeah. He kept every receipt. He had a little book. He was able to make and do his inventory, his accounting, to let his brothers and sisters know what was going on with their mother, especially ones that were out of town. So that's how I got involved. It actually, right out of law school, my father had to have a conservatorship. And he said, hey, there you are, you're a lawyer, so you
go
can
figure it out,
go
right?
figure it out.
And it sounds like you did.
That's exactly what happened.
Talk with me. Let's unpackage that a little bit. What does a conservative do versus a guardian? How does that work?
Well, the conservator is over the property, or what we say, the money or the funds. A guardian is more so over the person, making decisions like a parent would make for a minor child. So when you're in a conservatorship, you have to be bonded to be a conservator. So that means that you have a fiduciary duty to the person who's the ward, or the person that has some type of incapacity. It can be a minor or it can be an adult. So that conservator is responsible for making sure and taking care of financially with that person's assets what's going on, where a guardian is responsible for making decisions. Yeah.
The county has a county conservator, don't they?
Yes, they do.
When does that individual come into play versus having an appointed conservator through a court?
Well, normally if the county conservator, either there's not a person who may be available to be the conservator, and or a person in your family may not be able to be bonded. Let's just say as an accident, like what you deal in, it's a lot of money that comes into the property of a manor, and someone can't be bonded for the amount that the probate court requires. So the county conservator may come into play at that time. Okay. So normally if you can't name someone, the county conservator comes into play.
If you run into these circumstances, you're going to want to get with a lawyer like Jameria. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting? That we've done hundreds of shows. Do you know the number of times you've said, how'd you get into this law? And somebody says, well, a family member. It's interesting how sometimes attorneys choose what area of law they go into, but sometimes it seems like the area chooses them.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And not just that. Her story is a great story. Sometimes it is a family member or a friend coming to you in an area of the law, and I've handled this a lot in my practice, where someone comes to me, but it's a close personal friend or it's a family member. I don't know the area of the law, but you just got to go figure it out. That's just part of being a lawyer, is being resourceful enough to figure it out. All right, so when we come back, I do want to talk a little bit. I want to unpackage the concept of a will, how you get a valid will, why a will is important, those types of things, and the Honorable Moore is going to be able to talk about those things.
Look forward to it. All right, we're stepping aside. Our first break. Again, just a reminder, we'd love to have you join our conversation. Much more of the attorneys coming right up. Stay with us.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis, Wright, a personal injury law firm. Thank you for watching The Attorneys. Now, we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple: provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury-related topics, You can call, email, or text us, or you can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or simply contact us by going to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us link. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us watching The Attorneys.
Hollis Wright is a proud sponsor of high school athletics.
Contact the winning team of attorneys at Hollis Wright if you need help after an accident.
Our law firm proudly supports Alabama high school athletics as well as the AL.com Hollis Wright Player of the Week.
Be sure to go vote this week for your favorite player at the Hollis Wright AL.com fan poll.
Welcome back into the Attorneys. Really interesting conversation in the middle of here. Appreciate you joining us. Before we get back to the conversation, we'd love to have you get in touch with the attorneys who are standing by live. If you need to take advantage of that opportunity, 205-670-1949 or toll-free 844-LAW-TALK, 844-529-8255. Josh?
All right, so when we went to break, we were talking a little bit about the probate courts and the role that they play. Let's talk about some specific issues. Wills, you agree important for people in certain circumstances to have a will?
Yes.
All right, how do you go about doing that? Who do you go talk to? How does that process happen?
Well, you really need to go talk to your lawyer. So that person can draft the will according to the wishes of the testator, but basically the person who wants the will. In Alabama, of course, to have a self-proved will, you have to have 2 witnesses and a notary. So you want to make sure a will is in writing and it's signed by the individual who's making the will. And it's signed in front of 2 witnesses, and those 2 witnesses we have a notary to notarize their signatures as well.
I got a call last week, and this is perfect for this segment, and it was a family member who says, the will was not typed, it was handwritten, and it is not my mother's signature, and it's not my mother's writing. I think that my brother is attempting to create this will. Can I challenge it? How do you answer a question like that?
The answer is yes, but a person who's making a will can have someone write it out. However, they have to have their signature on it. Now, in certain cases, if that person is not able to sign, they can tell someone to sign it. However, you can't do that unless you're in the presence of 2 other witnesses, and one of those witnesses can't be the person signing it. But you can challenge and have a will challenge if there is an issue with the fact that you think it's not a valid will.
Go find a lawyer for that.
Go get a lawyer for
sure.
that, for sure, definitely.
A question we've got here, what happens if I own probate property but I don't have a will?
Well, then guess what? The state of Alabama has something for you. It tells you exactly how to, basically you'll have a person that applies to be the administrator. You're not the executor. Executors normally, they come with a will. But as an administrator, if a person passes away without a will, they file a petition for letters of administration. And you have to go by the law of intestacy of Alabama. That tells you how the heirship and how it goes down the line. Now that person normally has to be bonded. Again, we get down to the words of being bonded, which means you have to be credit worthy. You can't have any prior criminal acts that may cause you not to be able to serve as the administrator of that particular will. So I do encourage people to get a will because in some instances, individuals can't be bonded or they may have a problem getting a bond.
You know, it's important too, we see this a lot in our wrongful death cases that we handle at our law firm to understand what the laws of intestacy are. The legislature, as Jameria was mentioning, the legislature has created a a hierarchy, if you will, as to if someone does not have a will and their intent is not identified in a will, where money and assets should go, how to divide those assets. And they go, for example, to the spouse first, and then they go to children equally. And there are certain nuances of that. If the spouse that is remaining after someone passes is a biologic parent to the same child of the decedent, the legislature has defined a certain amount that will go to that spouse first before the remainder of the money is split up. The key is the legislature has filled the gap in circumstances where there's not a will, but having a will to be able to identify what your intent is, and it's really not that expensive to get a will, but having a will to define what your intent is super important.
Do you think the major reason most folks don't have a will is they just think, well, I don't have much?
That's what I hear all the time. I don't have anything to put in a will. But I tell people and my clients, and as I speak in the community all the time, if you have clothes in your closet, those are your assets. You have property, you have furniture, you have cars. If you own a home and that home is not by deed going already signed with someone with a joint right of survivorship, that home may need to be probated. So there are assets, and it's not very expensive. I mean, we have will clinics all over that will assist various people to get a free will if it's a basic will. So if you're looking in your community, they may have a free will clinic so that you can get that and make sure that your assets are going to the individuals that you choose. That's the most important part. I tell people I want to be able to, my things to go to whom I choose for them to go to.
Right, exactly.
One of the things that we see a lot in our practice is money going to a minor because of a personal injury, car accident, whatever it may be. The probate courts are used a lot of times through pro-ami proceedings. Talk just for a second about why the probate court would want to approve and oversee allocation of money to a child or a minor over the parent, which is the key there.
Yes, and I see that a lot in our practice as well. What happens in that sense is we want to make sure that the corpus of those funds, the probate court wants to make sure that those funds are used for the benefit of that minor child. And so that when that minor child reaches the age of majority, that if there are funds that are available for that child to manage on, or that adult at that time to manage on its own, those funds are there for that adult. Sometimes we think as a parent, well, it's my child's money, so it's mine. No, you can't go out and use it for yourself. Those funds are to be used for the benefit of the minor child. So in instances where we have an accident where a child may receive funds, we want to make sure, and the probate court wants to oversee that, because if you read in the newspaper, there are always instances where someone has misused the funds of a minor child or an adult that does not have the capability to care for their own finances.
Yeah, and parents get offended a lot of times. I was in 2 pro-ami proceedings this past week, and parents get offended that there's a court that wants to oversee it, but it's not against those 2 parents, right? It just happens to be that the court feels it's in the best benefit to appoint a guardian ad litem through the probate court to monitor the settlement, make sure it's in the best interest. They want somebody objective to look at this, not just the parent who may have a self-interest. And then they want somebody to manage the decision-making with reference to the settlement and how the money is allocated. And the court likes to have some involvement in that. Again, it's not against parents. There are incredible parents out there. But it's to make sure that that money goes for the health benefit, well, for the child, not the parent.
Right. All right. Tim?
And I just wanted to share with that, we want to make sure, in addition to that, if those monies can be placed in certain type of annuities or bonds so that that money can grow.
Right.
for the benefit of that
Court
minor
likes
child.
that.
Yes,
Court
the
likes that
court
for
really
sure.
wants to make sure that it's not disposed of and that money grows for that minor child.
All right, time for us to take our final break of the evening. As we do so, just a reminder, Hollis Wright all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google search him, or just search Hollis Wright. You'll find them all over social media. Stay tuned. More of The Attorneys coming right up.
I'm attorney Tyler Vale with the law firm of Hollis Wright. Many people ask the same question: why should I hire a lawyer? While there may be some legal situations that do not require you to hire a lawyer, the clear majority of legal problems would certainly benefit from having competent counsel involved. To begin with, the law is complicated. Even experienced lawyers typically do not represent themselves in court. A solid case with clear liability can quickly unravel without the help of a trained attorney. Lawyers understand the rules of evidence and know how to properly lay a foundation to get critical evidence and testimony admitted into court. Lawyers are trained to recognize legal problems early on in a case and can help avoid pitfalls that unrepresented individuals may fall into. Lawyers can also increase the value of a case by getting experts involved to help prove additional damages that an unrepresented person may not realize they are entitled to. An experienced lawyer has probably worked on cases like yours and can give insight to negotiating a fair settlement based on recent jury verdicts and settlements that unrepresented individuals may not have access to. Another important reason to hire an attorney is because the person or business you sue will likely have legal representation themselves. Non-attorneys are generally at a disadvantage when squaring off against opposing counsel or doing business with another party that has legal counsel. The law is complicated, and an attorney who is representing your adversary may try to take advantage of you. Our law firm offers free case consultations that allow you to meet with us for free during a face-to-face meeting, where we can discuss the type of case you have, the potential value of your case, and your likelihood of success. This initial meeting can help you decide whether you need to hire a lawyer. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you. Thanks for watching The Attorneys on WVTM 13.
Welcome back into The Attorneys. This is our final segment, less than 6 minutes remaining. So if you want to speak with the attorneys from Hollis Wright, 205-670-1949 or toll free 844-529-8255, 844-LAW-TALK. A question we've got here: does the probate court handle adoptions, step-parent adoptions, etc.?
Yes. Yes, and that's the beautiful thing about probate court. With the step-parent adoption, it's more streamlined. The parent who is not there would have to consent, and normally you get those pretty easily. And those adoptions normally you don't have to have a pre-screening and a post-screening. So the step-parent adoptions happen all the time in probate court, as well as adoptions, which is also it takes your heart when you see how joyful an adoption can be for the child and how happy. I just had an adoption in the probate court, and the minor child was just so excited to have his new parents and his new name. But the process is you really need to consult with an attorney to do the adoption, to go through the process, because it can be paperwork driven. You don't want to miss anything because it can prolong the process.
One of the things that I see a lot with my paralegal and I, you know Kenyetta, who I've worked with for many years.
Yes.
When we open an estate up, that's just the beginning. And she tells me that all the time. She says, Josh, we have so many responsibilities from here on out. I mean, you really, when you become an estate representative as an attorney, you really have a responsibility to marshal together assets, make sure what debts are potentially subject to the estate. I mean, that's a pretty significant position, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you really become, I normally look at it in the sense that I really become a friend of the family.
Yeah.
Because it's so entrenched. It's such an emotional time.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that everybody is still staying together. One of my biggest things is trying to keep families together.
Yeah.
But yes, it is the beginning process, just starting when you open it. You have to get everything, all of the assets together, make sure that the bills are paid, make sure that it gets to the right people, and just making sure that that family's taken care of.
Yeah. A lot of times we see, David, in our practice when you're dealing with wrongful death proceeds will come into the family and they're allocated, if there's not a will, through the intestacy we talked about. And so there's a process to do that. But those are not assets of the estate. So they don't come in and they're not subject to the debts of the estate. But there may be many other assets that are estate related, albeit property or cash on hand or personal effects, that all could be subject to debt. So it's another reason why you really want to go and do some level of estate planning, regardless of what assets you've got, to make sure that you've got some ability to make sure that things you do have are allocated correctly where they're not subject to debt. So you really want to be careful on how you manage that, for sure.
Just over 2 minutes remaining, and really just enough time for a final thought. This half hour has just flown by here. But just a final thought from the both of you, and if you would, you please go first.
Well, I would just say that with probate, if you are in wherever you are, please seek an attorney, seek legal advice. If you want to do your own will, you may write it yourself, but let an attorney look it over to make sure that it meets all the requirements so that it can be probated at your death and everything can occur the way that you want it to occur. I just want to say that probate is a very important court. There are a number of excellent probate attorneys that you can talk with about your estate and setting up that estate. You can get packages which includes your will, your power of attorney, whether it's durable, general. You can get a health care directive. There are just a number of things that you can speak with your attorney about so that you can take care of yourself and take care of your family, so your family don't have to make those tough decisions when that time comes.
You can see why Jameria was appointed as a judge. There are, lawyers get a bad rap sometimes for being a little cold and not having a heart. She is not only compassionate, but you can see the emotion of the importance of family and making sure that you keep families together, those things we talked about today. A good example of why, if you've got related issues that are probate-related issues or wills, or if you find yourself in a municipal court, you want to be around someone like Jameria. And so you're a joy to be around. I mean, I don't say that about every single guest, but you're a joy to be around, and I love having you on the show because you make me happy every time I see you. So you're doing a great job. Just keep it up. But you want to get to a lawyer as quick as you can. If you need a will, you want to have some level of estate planning, and Jameria's a good example of that.
Thank the both of you for being with us tonight. Awesome show. Also, really thank you for being with us as well. Thanks so much. We appreciate you joining us each and every week, and we'll look for you next time right here on The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.